everybody. Welcome to the Get Clear Show. It's Laura. And today I am talking to one fabulous Vernard Fields. I am so excited that he's here today. Vernard and I actually had the opportunity to visit with each other about a week and a half ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. And we had some technical difficulties and kind of came up with some new ideas and thought that we wanted to wait to get to talk to everybody until today. So here we are, and we're doing this interview now, and we're going to talk a little bit about Vernard himself, some of the great things that he has going on. Vernard is absolutely, by far, one of the best graphic artists I have ever met. And I say that honestly, Vernard. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time out again to talk to me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm really glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to having this great conversation once again.
Yeah. So I know that my audience wants to know about you because after we talked the last time, I was telling some people all about this awesome person that I met, and they're like, well, where's the interview? I want to meet him. So please tell us a little about yourself. I know that you've been doing art since the day you were conceived, I think. So tell us all about that.
Yeah. So like you said, like since the day I was conceived, since I can remember, I've just had that in my blood, to be an artist. And I believe it probably ran on my father's side of the family because my father, he is an architect, a professional architect. So watching him draw buildings, floor plans and things of that nature growing up, that's what I thought I wanted to be. So I would mimic that, get my own pieces of paper, roll them up like little, plans. And then he would have his little drawing board out. And then I would, have my little, drawing board, makeshift, whatever it was. And I would draw right alongside of them, squares and all that type of stuff. So I believe my dad kind of saw that gift in me and he nurtured it. My mother did the same thing too. She was really into promoting my drawings and showing her friends like, hey, look what my son drew and all that type of stuff. So taking that and going through elementary school classes, I realized that, excuse me, that I was a little different. I stayed inside the lines, versus looking at other kids' work. I would look over and I'm just thinking to myself, like, why aren't you staying in the lines? And the teacher, she would always use my work as an example, hold my work up and say, hey, everybody, look how well Vernard has done with his work and, stay inside the lines like him. And I just had a mind that I thought was, common and that everyone else had. But the older I got, each grade level that I went to, I found out more and more that it wasn't true. And the art teacher, she noticed that. And I remember being picked out of a school district, one of maybe 8 to 10 students that would get shipped to another school every Friday. So we would do up to maybe 75% of a regular school day. Then the other 25%, we would go to another school and we would get special training. So it was kind of like the whole X-Men first class, I guess you could say, we had gifts, definitely had gifts. And so that was the first time that I was in a setting where I was around other people that was like me. So it was really interesting to no longer be exclusive or amongst the top. I was with other people who, in my mind, it wasn't negative competition, but it was fascinating. Look at what they're doing. That is so cool. And it was inspiring. So that took me out of, elementary and then going into the high school level. It just continued to be that way. I just kind of found myself along the top, maybe 5% or so of people who were just gifted when it came to art. So I eventually got to the 12th grade, of course, and found half of my day or half of my bells were centered around art. And the way I was able to do that was we had study hall, and I would switch my study halls out. I would go to my counselor and say, hey, I don't want study hall. I want to have art. And so she would be like, yeah, sure. She saw the gift. And my art teacher, of course, she put in a good word for me. So I wound up having 3 to sometimes 4 bells of just art. And I loved it that way. And after high school, I went to college and did 2 years, got an associate's degree. And the college that I went to was, again, it was kind of like an elite bunch where they only let, certain people to get in. You had to test to get in. And I don't remember taking a test. I kind of remember showing my portfolio and they were like, oh my gosh, we got to have you. So I was a fine arts person. I wasn't a graphic design artist at all. I didn't get in front of the computer to design art until 1998. And from that day forth, that's what kind of made me be like, oh my gosh, I love this. And I kind of put my drawing and my painting and my sculpting off to the side. And I kind of hate that, but I'm getting back to, leaning back towards it, but kind of like in a digital sense. Because, I see a lot of people who do a lot of digital painting, and I found that to be amazing because it looked like, regular oil painting or, acrylic or watercolor, whatever medium it was. And then finding out that it could be done digitally, which gave you an unlimited palette of color. I was like, I think I want to get back into it now. So here I am today, a lot being self-taught. Thank God for YouTube. Taught myself a lot about audio and video because that wasn't taught to me in college. So it wasn't until 10 years ago, I believe, when YouTube kind of surfaced, that's when I had that surgence of, I want to do films now. So, yeah.
Well, I can't even draw a stick figure great. So, hey, is it possible for you to turn down your speakers a little bit?
Yeah, sure. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, there you go. You're picking me up pretty strong. So, yeah, I can't even draw a stick figure straight. And here I am talking to somebody who has all of these amazing talents and things. Know that you and I had actually met in a group called, I think it's YouTube Hackers. And
Yes.
We have a common friend, Roberto Blake. And Roberto's the one who actually started that group. And it's, mostly for people who are doing stuff on YouTube and trying to learn some tricks of the trade where YouTube is concerned. But what I'm finding is there's, a variety of people in there that have talents all across the board. It just happens to be that they're using YouTube as their medium to display those talents. And I know recently you've sort of tapped into that whole YouTube community and trying to check out what that's all about and get more of your work out there in a way that is a lot more relatable and tangible to people. So let's talk about that for just a little bit. Tell me, what do you think about this whole YouTube thing? The other thing too that I know lately you've been doing a lot of, because I've been following you around, is some of that Facebook Live. That's a relatively new thing, and now we can actually send a message to somebody, or comment. I mean, send a comment to somebody using video, and that's pretty awesome too. So talk to me about that and how you think that platform is going to sort of help your business a little bit.
Okay, yeah, sure. So when it comes to YouTube, I was big into it as far as a viewer. I wasn't into posting or anything like that. And I didn't realize how big of a game changer that was going to be. And this is during the time of MySpace. Like, for those who remember MySpace was amongst one of the first online social media outlets where people were able to get together. And they didn't even have groups. It was just pages. You just had pages,
right,
and people's profiles, and people would, leave comments and stuff. So it was really open. You was even allowed to customize your page. Like, people were monetizing it and designing custom pages for people and things of that nature. So yeah, that was during that time and space where I was introduced to YouTube. And flash forward maybe 5 years up, that's when I started noticing tutorials and things of that nature. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to try my hand at doing, these videos, because DSLR cameras came along and allowed people to have better video quality. And so it was no longer 480p, then it went to 720p, and then it's at 1080p, and now we're at 4K.
Yeah, 4K. Isn't that something?
Huh?
That 4K is really something, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, it is absolutely amazing. And I think even now, if you haven't noticed, there's some videos out there that are 720 or 1080 1080p, but it's at 60 frames per second. So it,
Wow.
it kind of gives you a surreal, like it's almost too clear to be true. But anyways, I love all that stuff. And I thought to myself, I'm going to start my channel. And I gave it a shot, and it's a lot of work and it's a lot of dedication to keep that thing going. So I had stopped it for a while, and I just continued on YouTube as a viewer, and then I started commenting, and they even allowed video responses.
Right.
So people are kind of like, oh man, Facebook is allowing you to do video comments. I'm like, okay, like that's cool, but YouTube was the first to do it, and then they got rid of it. I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even realize that it was gone until recently when I saw Facebook, allow you to be able to do video comments, and I was like, wait a second, this is very familiar. And I was like, yeah, YouTube allows you to do this before. So it's kind of real cool to see, see where Facebook is going, because I say, that Facebook is now the new YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube has just celebrated their 10th year anniversary. So believe it or not, I can't believe it. It's only been 10 years since they've been around, and they've evolved so much. But where YouTube was at, I would say maybe 8 years ago, that's where Facebook is at now. And Facebook is moving at lightning speed. So I give it another 2 years, and we're going to start seeing a likeness very much like how YouTube is, where people are going to have channels. We don't have that right now on Facebook. I just kind of just tell people, or I adopt a name that, yeah, go to my channel on Facebook and check it out. Check out my videos there. But it's
Trying
just
to be
a public figure
a little
page,
progressive there, right?
It's coming, people. I say it and I stand by it. Like it's coming. The monetization of videos, it's coming. So I'm not going to be unwise or foolish this time around. I saw what happened with YouTube, and I see it happening here with Facebook. So I want to be on the front lines, on the frontier of this whole thing of putting out good content, great content that's valuable, and hopefully grow an audience on my Facebook channel.
Yeah, and last week you and I were talking just about our YouTube channels mostly, and how we wanted to grow that. And one of the things that I had said was, Facebook has kind of been my home base. That's where I go to connect with my friends. I put all my personal stuff on there. I do some monetization type stuff. I send ads out there. I do so much on Facebook, and I call it my home base. It's kind of the place that I go to. I'm comfortable there. I did the whole MySpace thing too when it first came out, and then Facebook offered so much more. I kind of went over there, and that's just where I go every morning. I wake up, I check my Facebook, see what my friends are doing, message people, all of that stuff, and it's so very interactive. But there came a point for me in my business where, I started this talk show almost 6 years ago, and I started doing it kind of in a podcast, internet radio format, and then went to video a few years ago. And YouTube was the way to go. That was just the thing to do, especially if I wanted to monetize and stuff like that. But Facebook was still my home, and I was still learning. I didn't even know how to get videos from my camera onto the computer, and it was months and months of just self-teaching and learning editing and all of that stuff, that I don't think I knew how to use YouTube appropriately. And it was easier for me to just go back over to Facebook, because it was comfortable. And one day I realized that I needed to leave home. I kind of look at it this way. It was like I needed to leave my home base and go walk around on YouTube and see what else was out in the world. And I found that there were people out there doing some awesome stuff that I really, really wanted to tap into and get to do. And that there was a place for me in YouTube. There was a place out there. There was a niche that I could fill. And so I started doing that. But I'm kind of like you. Just in the last few weeks, I did a video. It's been a month today, actually, that I did this live video. It was the very first one I did. I think Facebook was allowing you to do those live videos maybe for just a few weeks. I don't know. Yeah. And so I got on there and I made this live video about a stranger that I had met. She's from the Philippines and living in Hong Kong right now. And I did this, and it was more of just a status update. It was a personal status update. I never expected it to be anything more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And within about a week, I had almost 2,000 views on that one video. And that's more than I get on my YouTube videos, because I think what's happening now on Facebook, like you said, is they're going to move into what YouTube's doing. And I think I can just take my audiences and kind of cross-pollinate, for lack of another term, where my YouTube audience is now going to watch me on Facebook, and the other way around as well. So, you know, and both mediums are great. But what I kind of wanted to talk to you also about was, you've done some really simple branding. I had a gal on my show the other day, Maria Wendt, and she does graphic design, not so much the graphic art like you are. You know, she's making web pages for people and doing that. And I know you're quite capable of doing all of that stuff too.
Yeah.
But I want to talk a little bit about your work and how you have branded yourself, because your branding is real simple. I look down at the bottom of the screen here, just talking to you, and you just have your simple VF going on, but it's working for you. So tell us a little about, you know, the work that you do and why you decided to go with such a simple, recognizable brand like you have.
Like I said before, I got my start in fine arts, and then I moved into digital arts. And of course, Adobe is industry standard when it comes to graphic design. And then of course you have Cinema 4D, Maya, Blender, as far as, like, you know, your other outlets for doing 3D modeling, things of that nature. But for me, Adobe has really, I've grown with them since I graduated from college back in '99. So to see them evolve and to grow with them and to learn the software, teaching myself the software via YouTube. Like I say, I will never graduate from YouTube University. Yep. That's where I will always go. I learned everything from there. So I highly recommend, if you don't know anything about digital art, go to YouTube. So that was a plug for YouTube. So you guys can, you know, send me some money. But anyways,
YouTube.
Yeah, I thought to myself, I said, you know, I need to give myself a brand that stands out from everyone else, because there's a lot of graphic designers out there. So I realized that I'm not just a graphic designer. I realized that I do cinematography also, and I work with sound, and I do all sorts of things when it comes to mediums. So I was like, you know, that's multimedia. And I was like, you know, I need something that's cool. So I stuck under specialist, because I feel like, you know, I specialize in so many, you know, various applications. So that's where I get the title from, you know, multimedia specialist. And then I sat down, and when it came to my brand, it took me a while. And this is something that all designers go through. You can design for everybody else and have no problems, but when it comes to you, oh my gosh, you're just like, you're like, I can't get it right. And you're so highly critical of yourself. And I went through that for like about a month or so. And I would put it off to the side because I got frustrated. And then one day I was in a group, a private group that's in Facebook. And I saw somebody post up their brand, and they said the same thing. It took me a while to get here, but I finally think I got it. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. So I like zeroed in. I focused in on what it is that I thought, what I wanted. And of course, my favorite color is blue. So that's where the blue comes from. But at the same time, I took all of the elements from all the programs that I use, and I said, okay, what's the common thing here? And it was the blueprint, so that's the story behind the cross, the grids, because right. When you open up these programs, they all have like this grid in the background, but if you strip it down, it's nothing more than just like blueprint guides. And then the clicker, the little mouse cursor, I was like, that's in all programs. Like no matter where you are, that's just a universal symbol. And so then I was like, well, Adobe, I love Adobe so much, I might as well go ahead and pay homage to them. So they always have like the AI for like Adobe Illustrator or the PS for Photoshop. So I was like, my first name, my last name, let's go ahead and make it like that. And then I just stuck the little pointer clicker in there, and that became my brand, the Multimedia Specialist. And get my domain name. I use my government name. for that, because instead of just saying like, hey, I want a cool name or whatever, that can get lost in the shuffle. And that's two things that a person has to remember when they come in contact with the individual. It's like, okay, the name of the person and also the company that they work for. I said, I want to just make it one. I want to make it easy for everybody. People already know my name. So I might as well go ahead and start branding myself as, the multimedia specialist. And it works, consistency. And instead of using when I started out, a public figure page, I just completely turned my main page into my business, which meant that I had to stop all my social media, personal postings. Like I was big on posting about politics, spirituality, and day-to-day life. And I had to cut all three of those things out. And I just started strictly posting about art. And it was so hard at first because there was so many things that was going on in the world or around me. And I was like, oh, I want to go ahead and I'm like, oh, I can't do that because I'm training my already friends and new followers that this is all they're going to see when they come to my page. So after about maybe 2 months of that, it's second nature. Like I don't even have the urge to post or to talk about anything else. And there's a lot going on today, but I'm like, you know what? I'm running a business and I have a brand that I have to protect.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day because there really is, and so much going on right now. It's just unreal, and it doesn't matter what side of the fence you are on any of it.
Right.
Here's my thing: both sides are wrong, both sides are right.
Yeah.
But it is hard, and so I don't know, especially when we're talking about. Let's just talk about Facebook because that's always been my personal medium. I've traveled so much and I've moved around so much. I've lived out of the country, and so I have friends from all around the world, and these are personal friends to me. And my thought here, probably about 2 months ago, was I have a separate page for my business, which is great, and I only post my business stuff there. But what I found out is my friends that went and clicked and liked my little page, they're already seeing me on my personal page, and they really don't care about my business stuff. They just don't. And I don't want to disengage with them. So I'm sort of in this place of how do I get my business page promoted so that people can see that, because we all have a personal side and we all have a business side, right?
Right.
So I don't want to lose those connections that I have to my personal friends, but I also would like people to understand, hey, this is what I do for a living and this is how I can help you. Am I making sense there?
Oh yeah, definitely. That was something that I was dealing with also, and it wasn't until recent when Facebook allowed everybody to do streaming, that's when it clicked and dawned on me. I was like, if I'm doing streaming on my phone, then how can I do this on my desktop? And I've done some digging around because the information really wasn't out there in the forefront. And after doing some searching for about maybe an hour or so, I came across a link that Facebook has deep in their page, in their website, that showed that, yeah, you could do live streaming from your public figure page, because I didn't have a reason for my public figure page. I thought, when I created it, I only had like maybe 50 people that liked it or something like that. And once I discovered that I was able to do live streaming and use my desktop to showcase my work, and I found a program that allowed me to be able to have music in the background and to show my pictures, show my desktop, I was like, oh my gosh, this is genius. Now I can do something that's a little different from everybody else, because that's what you want to do. You want to stand out. And that's when I started pushing and promoting my public figure page. Now, the way that I stream, it's nothing new, actually. Like for people who are familiar with Twitch.tv, that is basically a site where people just stream their video games. Like people are, they're gaming on there, and they have their little camera off to the corner, and they're interacting with their audience, and they have thousands of followers and viewers. Tens of thousands. And I noticed that there were also artists that were on there doing the exact same thing, except instead of gaming, they were drawing. And even Adobe has a channel that's on there too. So I was like, I want to take this element and I want to apply it to Facebook. and it's working. And to my knowledge, I don't see anybody else that's really doing that. But Facebook is pushing and promoting, saying that, hey, you could do live streaming now via your phone. They even have something that's called Movie, MOVI, that allows you to have like one camera, and then you can have multiple cameras within that screen, and switch between using your phone. So I thought that was pretty cool. So Facebook, it's new territory that they're venturing off into. And I just love how it's just open enough to be able to explore, and then try to figure it out, a little bit on your own here and there. But yeah, sending people to your personal page and your public figure page, I found the key to that was like, I'll just use my public figure page for live streaming, like for video content, and then I'll just share that page on my personal page so that my friends and people who didn't like that page or whatever, they get to know what it is that I do more. So I found life for my page, my public.
So you figure out how to integrate the two then.
Yes. Yeah. So each of them have their role.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm still sort of finding my way around all of that. One of the interesting things to me is that this whole age of internet, I call it like, it's like raising teenagers or trying to tack Jello onto a tree. Just as soon as you think you've got it all figured out, they change it. Everything's changed, and you have to stay up on it. You have to stay with it. And one of the things that I love about the age that we live in is I get to work out of my house. I don't have to leave my house in order to generate an income. I don't even have to leave my house in order to share with people what I've created. Long before your time, there was a day when if you created a piece of art, you had to figure out a way to get that art either into a gallery or maybe even take it down to a local flea market thing and sell it that way. But now you have an opportunity to showcase your work to the world, and it's all about learning how to make noise in this very noisy environment, whether that's Facebook, whether that's YouTube, whether that's Twitter. It doesn't matter what your platform is. You have to figure out how to stand out and how to make noise in that platform.
Right.
And what I like is that there's information out there that will teach you how to be noisy. I remember when we were living in Israel and we would they have a big open market where people go to do their grocery shopping and things like that. Yeah. And the people would stand out in the market and they'd holler at you, 7 shekel falafel or whatever they're yelling to try to sell their stuff. And the people who made the most noise got the most customers. Right. And I think it's the same way in this digital thing that we're doing. And our good friend Roberto talks about consistency, constantly putting content out there, constantly staying on top of things and being consistent so that your viewers know, oh gosh, it's Tuesday. In my case, on Tuesday is the day that I try to get my videos out there up on YouTube. Say, oh, it's Tuesday, Laura's going to be posting some new information, and hopefully it's information that is relevant to them and purposeful. When I first started making videos, all I did was just interviews, people who had an interesting story, and that's all great and that's cool, and I still do a lot of that. But what I'm learning is to create content that people are looking for. Not too many people are going to go search for, interview with Mary. They're not going to look for that. But if that interview has information that they're interested in, such as us talking today, I know there are tons of people out there who'd like to know how you got so successful in the digital world, Mm-hmm. So they're going to search for that. And creating content that is purposeful and meaningful is really key, and making sure that you're consistent with that. And we have so many platforms to do that. I mean, where do I put it? Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, YouTube. It's wide open, and it didn't used to be that way. So I think the opportunities for people to make money, there shouldn't be a reason for a starving artist anymore. Unless they're just not a good artist, but because they do have opportunities to market where they didn't have opportunities to market like they do now.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, that was something that I realized too, and I think everybody else also, and especially like the main media outlets. I think it's like 6 of them, like Viacom, Disney, NBC, all those people that are up there, up at the top. when YouTube came on the scene, I'm pretty sure they saw the writing on the wall. And now you see now that YouTube is like the big networks, and people are, you know, they're making money off of it. They're making a living. You don't have to sit around and wait for somebody to say, hey, I think that your content is good enough to be presented to this audience. No, you can put out whatever you want, and now the people decide who's going to be top, and also who's accepted. You know, even if your ratings are low, like right now, my ratings are low, and I love a good challenge, and that's what I'm actually doing right now. Is I'm preparing to take on what Roberto has said. You know, as far as like, you know, the plan, the blueprint, how to grow your YouTube channel, how to get more subscribers, how to get, you know, better content. I'm like, okay, I love being in this underdog position, but not for too long, but I'm going to fight my way up to the top, because I don't have to wait on a deal from NBC. Like, I'm my own boss. Right. And depending on how well I do, that's how successful I'm going to be.
You just hit the nail on the head. I've been saying that for a couple of years now, that, you know, if somebody out there wants to be, I'm going to just use the word popular. They just want to be popular at something. They don't have to wait to be discovered. They just put themselves out there. They can just present themselves and the information that they have and the talent that they have. There's a lot of talent in this world that goes unnoticed, you know. Yeah. And you don't have to wait for a talent scout to find you, although it'd be nice if they scoured YouTube and found people, and sometimes they do. But that's, you know, the thing is, you can create your own stage, and I love that. I think it's just awesome. And it, you know, my little granddaughter, she's 5 years, or she's 6, sorry, she'd kill me if I said she was 5, but she just turned 6, and we started a YouTube channel for her. She's a little artist like you are. I mean, this kid is unreal. She makes stuff that will blow your socks off. The other day she came in the room and she said, look, I made a shark. And I'm telling you, Bernard, this thing looked like a shark. Yeah. So she watches cooking channels all day. That's her favorite thing to do, is watch cooking shows and, you know, any of those how-to type videos. So we started a little channel for her, and she has some cooking shows on there. And they're awesome. I mean, she teaches you how to make guacamole and butter and all sorts of stuff. And they're really, really awesome. She didn't have to wait until, you know, mom could drive her out to California and meet up with a manager and hopefully get discovered or any of that kind of stuff. You know, right. She's out there and she's doing it. And 100 people watched her first video. I think it was maybe 120. I don't remember now. 100 something. And to her, that was just like, oh my gosh, I'm on TV. You know, she's 6 years, like, I'm on television. It's pretty awesome to her. So anybody can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I mean, especially with getting them started out young. The younger you start, you know, your children off, the better off they're going to be in the future. And instead of waiting to have to get in contact with this type of software when you were in college, because that's what it was back in the 90s. If you want to have, you know, top of the line industry standard media to be able to work with, you have to go to college. You have to shovel out like tons of money. Even to get like the Adobe software products back then, you had to like shovel out like $6,000. But now they have it to where if you're even in school, they give you a discount. They give you everything that Hollywood has for $21 a month. Yeah, you can't beat that. And then even if you don't have a school email address, you can still only pay $50 a month. And then you have all of YouTube. The whole YouTube community is out there, ready to teach you how to utilize whatever it is that you just got your hands on. So I totally agree with you. You do not have to wait for Hollywood to say you're ready now. You just put yourself out there. You don't even need big movie sets. I mean, there's information out there to teach you how to do green screen and to create your own backdrops. Yes. And you can have whatever it is that you want behind you. So the world is like, how to say, it's your oyster. You just got to find the pearl on the inside and just make it work. But we're living in such a beautiful time right now where anybody can make it. You can be whatever it is that you want to be.
That's so true. And last year I started learning green screening and doing some special effects and all of that. And I kind of have this little secret I don't know, fantasy or desire. I want to make a low budget, and I mean really low budget film that I can put out on YouTube. I've already made a documentary. That was one of the very first things I did when I learned how to make video. And, it's not, certainly not Hollywood quality, but it wasn't bad. It was a little, one step above what I call your basic YouTube quality, like what we're doing here today.
Yeah.
And it was so exciting to me to be able to do that. And it was encouraging. It's like, man, if I can do that, anybody can, because you're talking to a girl who didn't know how to take a video, let alone make a documentary, and within 3 months, and I just got on YouTube, and I got on places like lynda.com, and I started doing tutorials, and I learned, some pretty heavy duty software stuff. And I was amazed. It's like anything you want to know, you can find out there. I don't have to pay $1,000 a credit hour just to, just to learn this stuff. So it's pretty awesome. It's really pretty neat. So yeah, I kind of would like to, I have this script I've been working on where I get a whole bunch of other YouTubers involved, and we sort of make this little low budget drama and ongoing drama. And I'll talk to you about that some other time, but I can dream those things now. I remember what I wanted to be when I was a little girl was an actress. And there came a point, I was still in high school, and I was like, I want to be, I want to be in movies. I want to be an actress. And I remember, I think my parents realized, come on, like one in how many millions of people ever really get that opportunity. So they tried to keep me grounded, and they're like, no, you're going to be a secretary. I was like, oh, okay, I'll be a secretary. I was miserable. I was a secretary for a while. And I even switched my major in college from radio broadcasting to, I went into psychology and became a psychologist, because the reality back then, long before the digital age, was the odds of me getting a job in radio broadcasting in the area that I lived in was like -1%.
Wow.
And so what was the point in me wasting all of this time and money going to school for something I was never going to be able to use? So I switched my major to psychology, and it earned me a good living for a lot of years. But there was always this thing inside of me that was like, but I want to do more. I want to create, and I want to do all these things. And I have found that I don't necessarily care for the acting part. I love editing. I absolutely love editing, the cutting and just the creation end of all of that.
Yeah.
And I can do that now. I can do that. Anybody can do that. And so it doesn't matter what your dreams are. And maybe your passion isn't videos. Maybe like my granddaughter, her passion is cooking. She just loves the cooking, and she likes to create art. But now she has a place to showcase that. And people didn't have that before, unless they took out very, very expensive ads and magazines and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like this, at a point now where, I not say no longer, but I'm ready to contribute now to YouTube, and I'm ready to give, because I've done so much taking and consuming and learning, and it would only be just right for me to take the things that I've learned and now do tutorials and teach other people the tricks and of the trade, and it works, because the more you give, the more you receive. I know it sounds crazy to a lot of people that may even be watching, but you really can't gain anything, walking around with your hands clenched like this. You got to walk around like this. Just whatever it is that you have, you just got to be willing just to give it. Just give it away, because you don't want to necessarily be a container where you're just being poured into. You want to be more like a funnel, so that, as your gifts is being poured into you, you can direct it into other containers or other funnels. And you keep that constant flow. You don't have stagnant water or stagnant gifts, so to speak, resting on the inside of you. You're alive and you have purpose. And now I'm like, I want to give back to my viewers. And I started on Facebook. And since I've done that, I've had a lot of people that like inbox me every week. Hey, you do such and such, or, I'm looking for video work, or if I'm looking for editing or graphic design. And I didn't have that before. When I wasn't doing it, like a year ago, I wasn't getting anything via Facebook saying, hey, here's a job opportunity. Now it's just like every single week, because I give away, I show myself to the world as being one who is knowledgeable of not only knowledgeable, but love what I do when it comes to, my craft. And it's paying off. So I recommend that to a lot of people, that, you know, you just open up yourself to the world. Here's an opportunity, and just showcase and just give yourself away.
That's interesting that that's what you chose to talk about today, because I just posted a video probably 2 days ago out on my YouTube channel that talks about that giving. And I use that analogy of, you know, those clenched fist hands, because
Yeah.
when your hands are closed, you might be able to hang on to what you have, but no more can come in. And when you walk around with your hands open, then you leave room for things to come in. And I also talked a little bit about volunteering. And I had a business coach tell me, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, I can't remember exactly when I met with her, but she, and I don't think her and I were really going to click, but one of the things that she said was, well, you need to be monetizing everything, you know. For example, this interview that we're doing now, I don't charge people to be in my interviews. I see no reason to do that, because if I help you, then it helps me. And I really firmly believe that. You know, you're on my show today, and my viewers are going, I may have a client out there that is struggling with a certain part of their business and wants to know how to get some good branding for their business, or they need some artwork done or something. And now they're going to know, hey, Vernard's the person for me to go to. So it really, it benefits both of us, and it certainly benefits my clients. But I just couldn't get on board with this idea that I have to charge for everything, because what I know in my life and in my world is that the more times that I gave away free coaching sessions, the more that I got business out of that. I would have a lot of people come to me and say, I just flat out can't afford you, but here's the issue that I have going on. So I would either discount them drastically, or in some cases, a lot of cases, I would just give them a free session. I would just give those sessions away. And here's what happened. Eventually, when they had money, they would come back to me.
Right.
Or they would tell somebody else, hey, I worked with her, she did a really good job, and those people would pay me, you know. And I just believe that giving to get, I think I live by that philosophy. The more you give, the more you get. And it's not just monetary stuff either. I mean, certainly we have to have money in order to function, to pay our bills and things like that. But what I get is this sense of purpose and this sense of value, and just to put a smile on somebody else's face is totally awesome to me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I live by the same, by the same values. That's awesome.
Well, Vernard, before we get going here, because we've kind of hijacked this thing for a little over half an hour now. So before we get going, what one message would you like to really put out there for the people who've been watching us today? What would you like to tell them about yourself and about, you know, just everything that you have going on?
Well, I'm going to say that you can find me on Facebook. If you go to fb.com, and that's short for Facebook, just go to fb.com /Vernard, and that's like Bernard except it's with a V, then S, and then Fields, and that's Fields. If you go there, click that, you can friend me there. And then if you want to follow my channel, I'm just going to call it my Facebook channel, and see all my videos and just get a little bit more behind the scenes as to what it is that I do, then you would just have to use the same URL, except you just put a number 2 behind Fields. And so that's fb.com /Vernard S Fields 2. And we could connect there. Direct message me. I have people that direct message me all the time, and I do respond, especially now since I'm not like super famous or anything like that. I'm able to, but that's, you know, you can find me there. Also, if you go to YouTube and you search or youtube.com /Vernard Fields, or just type in Vernard Fields as a search, you'll find my stuff there also. So those are the 2 outlets that I push.
I'll make sure that we put that down in the description today too.
Cool.
Okay, well, Vernard, I have been thrilled having you here again. And one of these days we're going to have to do another interview. We're going to have to do
Yes.
this. Maybe we'll make a regular thing of this once every couple of months or something, because you always have great insight and great information. I loved getting to talk with you last week, and I really enjoyed today's conversation just as much. So, and I'm going to keep following your stuff on Facebook, because I'm like blown away. It's like, yeah, he's dead on. He's dead on. So these are things I've already been thinking. It's like, I think him, you say him. So
Right.
I'm pretty excited about that, but I'll just keep following you. In the meantime, everybody, you've been watching the Get Clear show. We've been talking with Vernard Fields today, and I hope you keep tuning in. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.
Thank you. You guys have a good day too.
Bye, Vernard.